If you're doing software development, you're probably delivering requirements and user stories during your Agile process, and you're probably creating project deliverables so that you can track the status of those tasks that need to get done. Well, you've probably already seen within our tools that you have the ability to build out releases, and for each release you can also build sprints as well as builds. You might have also seen that we have an advanced project management tool that allows you to create hierarchical project plans with tasks underneath them. Now, when we spoke to some Agile teams, they really don't like anything that's hierarchical. They simply want a flat set of tasks that they can put in a backlog and get done. So we offer this new feature here called Agile Tasks to handle that scenario. So how does this work? Well, first of all, you want to go in and define a release as you normally would. In the releases area, you can see that you can organize your releases by product line. Here I have 3 different product lines. Let's imagine we're working in this orders application and we have a release 1 that we're working on. But we want to create a third sprint to ensure that we get all of the things done in that sprint. To do that, we'll simply come here and press on Add, and we'll add an iteration. We're going to add sprint 3. Let's also imagine that this sprint starts in about another month, and it's going to go for 3 weeks. Once we've done that, we can assign this sprint to someone, and then we can describe what we're actually delivering in the sprint. Once we've described this information, we can press Submit. While we're here, we can also tie some requirements to this sprint. I'll come down here and click Link to Items, choose Requirements, and I'll navigate over to our batch processing items. From here, I'll choose these 3 items that we're going to deliver in this particular sprint. Now we've tied 3 requirements to this sprint, and we're going to be setting sprint 3 up. We now have the sprint with 3 requirements. At this point, we'll now want to go in and create some Agile tasks to link back to those requirements. To do that, we'll come over into the project management area and click on Agile Tasks. Now notice that we already have a folder here for purge processing. We might also want to create a folder for any of our task backlog. So I'll just press Add, and I'll add this folder. The next thing we'll want to do is go into our Releases tab and set ourselves on Sprint 3, because any task we create here will be attributed to the 3rd sprint. Now we can come back over into the Folders area, and then we can add some tasks for purge processing. Let's go ahead and do that. For this task, we're going to first choose a requirement that we want to base this on. So we're going to link to a requirement. And we're first going to focus on the allow purging of order data. If we're unclear about what that requirement is, we can click that and it'll bring that requirement up. As we can see, this requirement is going to allow us to purge data for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years of that old data. So to do that, we're going to have to create some user interface screens to allow them to enter in the parameters for the purge. We can also prioritize them, and we can put in estimated hours. Maybe we think the user interface is going to take 10 hours to go. If we want to set estimated start dates and finish dates, we can do that, but it's not required. Once done, we'll press Submit, add another. That submits that creates the task. Now let's say that we have a similar task that we want to create. We can clone from the existing one that we just created. This time we're going to put in the business layer artifacts for the purge parameters. This time we're going to build out our business objects. We'll also estimate this one. Notice that it's automatically tying it to the requirement because we cloned from the other. Finally, we'll add one more for our database objects. Our database objects should take about 8 hours. Once we're done, we can see that we have all these Once we're done, we have now 3 tasks tied back to that requirement as well as the sprint. Now let's imagine that Steve is going to work on these first 2, but we don't have anybody yet that's going to work on this 3rd item. What we can do is we can assign. So let's imagine that we have these 3 items and Steve will take these 2, but we don't know who's going to yet work on this particular item. We might want to move that into our task backlog. So I'll do that. I'll simply edit that. I'll choose the assignee as no one, and I'll go ahead and move that on into the task backlog. Now if you needed to move multiple items into the task backlog, you can go there, press Fast Edit, and choose this Move Items from one folder to the other. You can take those and you can drag and drop those into the correct folder. But in this case, we don't care to do that. So at this point, we have 2 items that are in my Purge Processing area and 1 here in the task backlog. Now let's say that I get ready to work on this item. I can come to my Team Task Board and find those items. I'll come here and I'll select Agile Tasks. And I can see that both of those items are in my to-do list. If I wanted to log some hours to one of these, I can come here and do that here. If I want to log hours, I can click Post Hours. Let's imagine that I worked 4 hours on it today, and I still have another 4 hours to go. I might also want to describe what I worked on. It then moves that into the In Progress area. Once I'm done, it'll show up over in the Completed area. Now you'll also notice when you're in the Releases area and you're looking at that 3rd sprint, it'll show you that you now have some linked artifacts. We have 3 Agile tasks slated for that release. I can also drill into that information and look at the details in this drill down report. You'll also notice in the project management area, I can go to a dashboard and I can analyze project burn downs, I can look at status, I can look at velocity, and I can look at slipping tasks as well. You'll also find a number of reports that you can use for Agile tasks. Notice that we have Agile Task index cards. Let's say that you wanted to place these index cards on the board. You can easily do that. From here, I'll choose a release. We're looking at Sprint 3. This shows me my cards. I may also want to look at my Agile Tasks by Assignee. I can click on that report, choose the current project, active releases, and run the report. Notice that it shows this information graphically. It also shows it by Assignee. If I continue drilling into this report, it'll show me the details that make that up. Now with Agile Tasks, you can tailor the way the tool works. You can go into this area and you can define drop-down lists for any of these areas. For example, status here has these different statuses. If I want to change those, I can go into the choice list area and I can change those statuses very easily. I can also set up workflow and state transitions. For example, if I get a task that's in progress, maybe I don't want it to be able to go on hold. I can choose to prevent that from happening. I can also do auto assignment if I wish to do that. I can also select the fields that are shown on the screen based on it being on an in-progress status. Let's say that your team wants to be really lean and you don't want all of the information that's shown on the screen. You really want to dumb this down. We can do that. We can go into the setup area, we can go into system configuration, screen layouts, and we can choose Agile Tasks. Then we can go into the Add Edit screen. Well, let's imagine we want to remove some of these fields from the screen. We don't care about requested by, we don't care about priority, and we may want to remove several other fields. We can also rearrange fields. Maybe we want the percentage complete to move down here next to the estimated hours. We can do that very simply. Once we're done, we can press Submit and it'll reorganize that screen for us. So if we go back over into the project management area and then we look at this task, you can see that it's really slimmed the screen down. If we want to see this in 2-column mode, we can do that as well. You can also filter your information. For example, what if you want to see all of the Agile tasks for all of the sprints and all the releases? I can come to the releases and turn off the filter. Then I can come into the folders area and see all of my tasks. If I want to search for specific tasks, I can easily do that. Let's say that we want to search for business objects. Enter that information, press Submit. It'll find anything that meets that criteria. You want to turn that filter off, simply do No Filter. If you want more advanced filters, you can go into the filters area, and you can create customizable filters with Boolean logic. You can make those public or private. You can also group your information. Let's imagine that you wanted to see all of your Agile tasks by assignee. I can do that. This shows me that Steve has 4 tasks assigned. Let's say within that you also wanted to see it by status. I can very easily do that. So I can see that Steve has 4 items, but they're all in progress. If I want to drill into that information, I can easily do that. If I wanted to see recent tasks that I've worked on, I can come over to my recent Agile tasks, click that, and it'll show me the information on the right side of the screen. If I want to sort this screen, I can click on any column and it'll sort in ascending order. If I click it again, it'll sort in descending order. Want a more advanced sort? Come to Actions, Sort Grid. You can sort by multiple criteria. You see information on the screen and you want to rearrange it? Click on Choose Fields. Choose just the things that you care about and position them any way you wish. Press Submit, and then it re-queries the screen, showing you only the information you care about. Need to attach files to a specific task? Come here and click the Files tab. Then press Add New. Choose a file from your hard drive. Press Submit. It'll upload that file and associate it with this specific task. You can also add notes about the task. Any notes that are created will log your name and the time that you wrote the note. Notice when you're back over on the listing screen, it'll show you how many file attachments you have as well as the notes. You can also click that to go directly to that page. This was a quick overview of Agile Tasks. We hope you enjoy this feature. Thank you.